For the last 2 years, something was missing. Someone was missing. We missed you because it's your voice that fuels the day. It's your anticipation that is the charge in the air. You are the electricity in the grandstands, the life of the party, and that irreplaceable energy along the guardrails. Here are the 2 words we've been waiting over 2 years to say. Welcome back. Welcome back to new beginnings, to writing new stories in bold, new colors. The Hollywoodbets Durban July, Saturday the 2nd of July at Hollywoodbets Greyville. Welcome to a new age.
(2022), the year that the Durban July went to Hollywood. Welcome one and all, and welcome to the official panel discussion for the Hollywoodbets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse race. It's wonderful to have you on board, and we're looking forward to welcoming you to Hollywoodbets Greyville Racecourse on the first Saturday of July in its slot. And of course, there are tickets available. Lots of tickets. I'm sure everyone knows about the news, and we're looking forward to having you here. As for the panel, the CVs like you've never seen before. We're really lucky to have the likes of Mike de Kock, Justin Snaith, Smanga, Khumalo and Grant Van Niekerk. Mike de Kock, 4 wins in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. Justin Snaith, 5. Grant Van Niekerk looking for his first one, probably, and good chance of it happening this year. And Smanga Khumalo, of course, getting into the big league after Heavy Metal won 9 years ago. Let's actually welcome the panel, starting on the far side and starting off with Mike de Kock. 4 wins in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. The first one, probably the most memorable, being Ipitombi. But all 4 of those wins took you to great heights overseas. All of those horses became globetrotters, flag bearers for South Africa. What does this race mean to you?
A lot. If you don't win this race as a trainer and you're in the position to do so, it's like being Colin Montgomery or Lee Westwood, and you haven't won a major. You know, this is a major. This is what we're all here for, and you feel almost you've let yourself down, you let your team down if you don't get there. I know it's a tough race to win, but when you're at a good level in the game and you've got good horses, it's something that you want on your CV.
And those famous scenes, you getting on the back of Ipitombi, where she came from, where she eventually got to, and all those winners that came after Grays and obviously ended up running in the Melbourne Cup. Bold Silvano Igugu, your other 2 winners in this race, also went overseas and carried the flag. I mean, it takes a proper horse to win this race.
This is the one we all want, Alistair, at the end of the day. This is the one you want in your CV. Justin,
5 wins in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. Think about the way that you've won races. You've dead heated with Dancer's Daughter and Pocket Power in that great race in 2008. You obviously won with Legislate in the boardroom, and then do it again twice, Bulgarian, once, so well placed. Take us back to this day in 2008. What struck you as you went past the line?
Oh, look, it's funny you say that, Alistair. My father always said I'm the only trainer to have won 2 Durban Julys and never been in front at the finish line. So then the next year I made sure we put in the biggest winning margin. So I said, how was that? So an incredible moment. And obviously I grew up with the Mike Bass family, as you see nowadays, Candice, and it's a lot of years that went through, and knowing them, an amazing moment, I must be honest. I was very happy to dead heat, and it was just one of those special moments in racing.
How long does it take from Hollywoodbets Durban July 2022 to 23? Do you leave the race course here on Saturday and say, right, 2023, what am I going to do? Who are my horses?
I think if you win the race, you don't worry about the next, you worry about just that evening and enjoying it with the jockey that's ridden the winner for you, the owners and anybody else that wants to come along for a party. Because at the end of the day, it's a lot of hard work, months of planning, and when it happens, you enjoy the moment, like I suppose the Stormers did in Cape Town. This is our pinnacle of racing. And then as soon as the dust settles, you start thinking about the next one. So it takes a little bit of a while, but the feeling is just incredible. It never changes. Every time you win it, it's like you're winning it for the first time.
Now, South Africa's produced many great jockeys, and two of them are here. I'm going to start with a man that hasn't won the Hollywoodbets Durban July before, but he's got very, very close, and this year he's got a great chance. It's Grant Van Niekerk. You are obviously a proud Cape Townian. You've ridden with success all around the world against the best jockeys in the world. But what will it mean to you to come here on Saturday and hold up that sash at about 4:10?
Yeah, no, look, it would mean a lot. I think I've ridden in the July about 5 times, and I fell short about 3 times, so... look, you can't, you obviously, you don't know what the future holds, and obviously everything, when the pen's open, a lot can happen. So I'm just hoping for a smooth run race, and hopefully the pace is good, and I do think he has a very good chance of winning the July.
And that day in 2012, when you nearly won, unknown Grant Van Niekerk became a household name around the world after this. Do you think you could have done anything differently, or do you think that was just the race of his life, the run of his life, and he just fell short?
Yeah, no, it was such a, oh my God, it was very sad for me, but I think I was about 18 years old then, and I just fell short of not winning the race, and I think I cried for about a week straight. But growing up in South Africa, the one race you want to win is the July, and obviously it means a lot. So I just hope it could be this year for me.
And for the record, to all our viewers, Grant could have probably chosen any sport. Seriously talented sportsman, and we're lucky that he chose racing. As far as Smanga Khumalo is concerned, 2013 it all changed. Heavy metal won what was then the Vodacom Durban July, and now here he is, champion jockey since, a celebrity, he's all over the place. Bling, what did heavy metal do for your life? Never mind your career, your life.
Oh, well, Alistair, all have to be said, he did change my life, and obviously to show the jockey that I am now, I think that was the race that put me in the map. Even watching the replay, just electricity all over. He's the main man, not me.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said, but obviously from here you became champion jockey, you became a household name also around the world, and you just haven't looked back since. It's been 10 years of Bling shining wherever he goes.
Obviously, Alistair, I've just been very lucky with the talent that I have, having top trainers giving support. You don't have time to slack, and you just have to try and put your best foot forward and give the best you can.
Right, let's get into the crux of the Hollywoodbets Durban July for 2022. This is how things are going to be structured. We've inverted the betting board, so we're going to start off with the reserves, then the biggest outsiders. I work down to the fancied runners. Just a quick run through the runners that are in the race. Obviously, here in KZN, things are done in draw order. So number 1 on the card is Aragosta, and we'll chat to Mike de Kock about him, but we'll get to him about the middle of proceedings. Let's start off with the reserves. Number 20 on the card is NEBRAAS from the Sean Tarry stable. Of course, there have to be 2 scratchings for him to get into the race. He's a well-known star. Just a quick word from Mike de Kock. As far as the Gold Cup is concerned, at the end of July, he'll probably be a lively contender. If he gets a run, he'll need a bit of luck to get there, but how do you see him shaping up?
Look, I think he's got a bigger mission, which would be the Gold Cup. I think this probably be a little fast for him. Smart horse, very smart horse for sure, but just horse clearly wants further.
Okay, so that's about NEBRAAS. And then the first reserve is number 19, AIRWAYS Law from the Andre Nel stable. Many believe he's unlucky not to get a run in the race. Of course, 1 scratching will put him into the fray. Grant, I know that you ride a lot for Andre Nel down in Cape Town. AIRWAYS Law's obviously been with Andre Satellite Yard here in KZN, but many people believe he was unlucky not to get a run. Have you seen anything in work? If he did get a chance to go, do you think he'd be competitive?
His last win was a phenomenal win, and on his last win, he is very unlucky not to get in, I must admit, because he was a really unknown horse coming into the race, and he could have been anything. So hopefully for Andre and the team, if he's a scratching, then he can get in.
Right, let's move on to the official runners. We're going to start off with second base. He's a 66-1 shot from the Johan Janse van Vuren stable. Kabelo Matsanyani takes the ride. I'm going to throw to Smanga here. I know that you would have ridden against second base. You would have seen him up close without getting on his back. He is a big outsider. Do you see him shaping in the 2022 Hollywoodbets Durban July?
Alistair, this is one of the races where every horse has a chance. Unfortunately, Kabelo being his first July, we have to really consider that. But bear in mind, this horse has actually ran with one of the best in South Africa, and to just finish off lengths behind him, he's definitely a runner. Stama in this kind of race, it might just not play in his hands. But we all out there giving the best we can. He might get lucky, and the horse might prove us wrong.
Kabelo really is shining at the moment. Mark, do you have any inkling for number 15, second base?
No, I don't think he can beat his stable companion. At the weights, he was well beaten by him last time. I prefer him.
Okay, well, speaking of the stable companion, number 5, Puerto Manzano, also from Johan Janse van Vuren stable, Raymond Danielson takes her out. I actually think he's got a quartet chance. I think 50-1 is quite generous. Smanga, I'm actually going to start with you again, because you rode him here at Hollywoodbets Gravel at the end of last year. His win in the Jubilee was good. Can he sneak into the top 4?
You know, funny enough, that race, most of the way everything just went wrong for me, and only wanted to come back to find out that he wasn't moving very well behind. I think that was the reason of that kind of run. He's a very, very beautiful looking horse, strong individual. He's got nice broad shoulders in him, and I think his last winner was amazing, coming from that far off and, you know, running them down. He's got the draw. Raymond Danielson, he's been doing really, really well in Joburg. He rides with a lot of confidence, and I think this is what this horse needs.
Justin, he travelled down for the Met. He was well beaten by Comet Ding, therefore he was beaten by quite a few of the other hard knockers in the 2022 Hollywoodbets Durban July. Do you think it would be easier to travel from the Highveld to Durban than to Cape Town?
Oh, without a doubt. It's as you see a lot of holiday makers coming from Joburg to Natal. It's a lot easier. Plus, you have a little bit of obviously altitude in your lungs. He has a nice draw, maybe a small roughie, but just a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. I'd like a horse that's a little bit more consistent into a big race like this. He's going to have his work cut out here.
Okay, so just a quick look here at number 17, ASTRIX is a 50-1 shot. Paul Peter trains, he's having the season of his life. He's been in form for about 3 years. JP van der Merwe, back from overseas, back from Singapore, takes a ride. He won the Champions Challenge at Turfentine on Champions Day. Mark, can you repeat the dose?
Drawn badly, up 12 points, held by quite a few in the race. Not for me, in my opinion. I think he's got a lot to do to reproduce his last start.
Grant, from that type of draw, 17 here at Hollywoodbets Gravel in such a big race, you avoid the scrum. He might just be the horse that goes off to the front. Where do you see him shaping?
You know, if you have a look at this field, there's not much pace in this race. And if I were to be riding this horse with, you know, he's carrying a nice galloping weight, I would definitely go to the front and take that advantage from that draw, because there is horses in this race that has a better turn of foot than him. So I'll take him to the front and just hope for the best.
Okay, so those are the 50-1 shots in the Hollywoodbets Durban July for 2022. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll get into the meat of Africa's greatest horse race.
Ready for Shampopo and spinning with Hollywoodbets? Play Spinner Zonke online now and enter our world of fantasy. Is hot fruit a favorite of yours? Be your own king with Scopa. Or try your luck at the Wealth Inn. With hundreds of exciting games to choose from, there is something for everyone. Get spinning now with Hollywoodbets and Spinner Zonke.
So, welcome back. Here we go with the second part of the Hollywoodbets Durban July discussion. Of course, we've done some of the bigger outsiders. Now we're going to get into the middle range of the bookmakers' boards. Starting off now with number 18, Flying Carpet. He, of course, won the Summer Cup in Johannesburg at the end of last year. Sean Terry is no stranger to this race. Calvin Habib takes a ride. He's tasting big race success all of a sudden. Smanga, I'll start off with you. You obviously rode heavy metal for Sean in 2013 to win this race. Sean knows what it takes. I'm going to ask pretty much the same question I'll ask Grant, though. From draw 18, and there has been a lot of winners from the deepest draw in Africa's greatest horse race, are your options limited? Are you actually quite happy there to be away from the scrum?
I think the great example was obviously Comedy Ding, where Gavin, he came out and, you know, he just stayed there out and then he weighed his options. With a horse like that, I have raced against, obviously, Flying Carpet, and he's a big horse. He takes his time to actually unwind. He always does his best towards the end. If I was riding him, just wait it out a little bit and then try and just get lucky towards the end.
There we saw him winning the Summer Cup, beating Sparkling Water and beating a few other horses that he meets in this race, Mark. Can he cause a huge upset here?
You know, his last run to me, you know, maybe you can call it a prep run, but it was a progress plate and an MR90 getting a pound from him beating. That's way, way, way under your form. I think he's obviously a good hard knocker. He does have a turnaround of the weights with a few that he met in the Champions Cup and in the Summer Cup, but I must be honest, I'm hard-pressed to see him winning it. I know he's won a Group 1, but for me, he's just slightly short of the best, you know. And it's funny, this was sometimes, you know, he can be very short in the betting and in a race that he looks like he should absolutely annihilate them and gets beat. He's a funny horse. He probably runs better in stronger fields than he does in weaker fields, which I know sounds a little bit Japanese, but I mean, it is, you know, it's what he does. I'd be hard pressed to tip him to win. You know, Sean and Calvin are obviously having a good trot, but certainly on his last run, even on the run before that, I don't see him as a winner.
Number 14 on the card is Red Saxon. He's at a price of 40 to 1. It's so sad that Rachel Van Niekerk won't be able to make history in 2022. She was carded to take the ride. Sadly, a fall at Hollywoodbets Gravel on Monday took her out of the fray, so Joey Soma has been searching for a jockey. The winner of the South African Classic, this is the first 3-year-old that we're going to talk about, Justin. I know that you've got a fancy 3-year-old, as does Mark. It's difficult to get a gauge on how the Gauteng 3-year-olds are going to go, and also the Cape 3-year-olds, I suppose, against these older horses. They haven't really been exposed time and time again, like last year's crop was this time last year. Can you get any type of line where Red Saxon shapes up? I know he won the Classic. I know he ran in the Daily News 2000. He didn't exactly shine, but knowing Joey Soma, he would have left a little bit of meat on the bone. Any inkling of how he'll go?
I definitely think the jockey situation is not ideal. You know, when you're in a big race like this, the last thing you want is last minute a jockey issue. That certainly doesn't help. I think the draw as well, a little bit against him. Inconsistency. Funny enough, the last horse we were talking about, Flying Carpet, one thing I did like about it was consistency. You know he might come and run a good race and pop up. For me here, last run was also a little disappointing. Into a race like this, you need to be the best of your generation. The 3-year-olds, there are a lot of runners here that have run big races on big moments, and I think he's going to have his work cut out here. But Joey does like to put a rabbit out of a bag, yeah. So let's see.
Smanga, we saw him winning the South African Classic. They're beating Safe Passage, who you rode on that occasion. Do you feel a few more strides you would have got the better of Red Saxon?
Obviously, I just felt that he had a little bit more in hand, and my horse I was under a hard ride from Ellie, and he did surprise me. I didn't think that he could be the horse that actually will fight it out with my horse, and and it's racing. You one day you're a hero, and one day you're proven wrong. So I think it was just one of those days. He just came up on us.
So that's number 14, Red Saxon. Let's go on to number 16, El Matana. Mark de Kock trains. Callan Murray flies out from Australia to take the ride. It's great to have Callan back in the country. He's also set up stall in Australia, and he's been successful there. Now, the winner of the Hollywoodbets Gold Challenge, a big pointer into the Hollywoodbets Durban July. I've always maintained that he's well above average. He showed it there, Mark. Handicapper only gave him £3. Tough draw. The slower the pace, probably the better. Where does he stand?
Yeah, look, not unhappy with the draw because he's the kind of horse we're going to have to ride for luck. Smanga knows him. You've got to switch him off. You've got to ride him cold. Trip definitely is an issue. Deep Field is a sprinting sire. There's a little bit to suggest on the female side that he'll stay, albeit she's by Redute's Choice, who's more sprinter miler type horses. You know, he beats Linebacker and Jet Dark last time, and now they've got to give him weight, which is also a little strange in my opinion. Ride him for luck. Not many horses that have won this mile have gone on to win the July. I stand to be corrected, but I don't think there's a big number. More would have won the Daily News and won the July. More of a pointer. While he's a hugely classy individual with a lot of heart, he might just find this 600 metres too far.
Smanga, hypothetically, let's say they go a slow pace, which people are expecting. Then will he get 2,200 metres?
He's got a lovely turn of foot, and I think when you look back, obviously I think in the Summer Cup, I was unfortunately where my crop actually slipped out of my hand, but he was really, really finishing. If you have any doubts about if he stays, I think you go and watch that race. You definitely see that he does stay, and it just needs everything to go his way. And once he settles, obviously the pace is a concern, but once he settles, he's got definitely quite a nice kick. It'll also depend on the pace, and he's a lovely horse, a very, very nice horse. He's giving me goosebumps every time when I win on him, and he just does what you ask of him.
Well, that's encouraging for Almatana supporters. So we've done Joburg horses. Now let's move down to the fairest Cape. Justin Snaith settles the winner of the July 2 years ago in the form of Bulgarian, who was expertly placed. This year, the prep has been totally different for obvious reasons. Obviously, hadn't run for a long time between July 2021 and then his run about 2 months ago. Pierre Stradham takes around. He produced some magic on your horse here on Sunday at Hollywoodbets Gravel. How happy are you with Bulgarian going into this year's race?
Well, we've come with a different approach than last year. Sadly, last year he injured himself for the second time. He's really coming to the fore. Every run he's improved. You don't see the earlier part in this race. A horse stops drastically and he gets stuck behind and then had to move out. Otherwise, I do think he would have won that day and probably given punters a little bit more confidence. He's doing well at home. He's travelled up at the last minute, so he's been trained out of the Western Cape, which is going to be very interesting.
Just quickly, are you confident that that will work out? So it's a different way of going about your prep into the Hollywoodbets Durban July.
Worked for Nexus so far. I've been quite successful. I think I've actually been quite more successful raiding this season than being here for 4 months. So it's an interesting one. We'll see how this plays out. But I do think Pierre's the right guy. He needs to be ridden cold. Whether pace is on or not, only the race will tell. He's won this race before. Everyone's counting out. I would have liked the handicappers to have dropped him a couple more points, to be honest. It's been a long time since he's won a race, and I think coming back from such a long layoff, they dropped him 2 pounds into this race, it could have been a little bit more, and I think they would have played him into the race. Of the weight he's carrying at the moment, you just can't leave him out, him and Pierre. He's a dark horse of the race, and the pressure's on a lot of other horses, and you never know, he just might pop up.
Grant, you rode him last time out, didn't get up. Were you happy with that run leading into this race?
Yeah, look, he was carrying 62 kilos that day and beaten by no slouch as well. Hard knock galloper, and I think he's a horse that Justin's very good with these older horses and getting them right on the day. So I do make him a danger, although there is others I do prefer. But he needed his run quite badly with me last time, and going into the July you have to be super fit. So. I'm sure Justin and his team would have been on top of that, and if he's at his best, then you'll see him run well.
Grant, I'm going to stick with you for the next runner that we're going to talk about. It is Waterberry Lane from the Dean Cannemeyer stable. Keegan DeMello takes a ride. You would have ridden against him a few times in Cape Town, even in his prep runs leading up to the Hollywoodbets Durban July in the last couple of months. He's a 20-to-1 shot. I get a tough time reading horses into reading the gallops and how they're going to perform in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. But for me, he looked a picture of health. Can you see him being competitive here?
Sure, on his day, definitely. But it all comes down to the pace of the race as well. I do think he's a horse with a nice turn of foot, but the pace of the race is going to play a huge factor.
Justin, Waterberry Lane, run with the likes of Double Superlative, who's also from your yard. Sadly didn't make it to KZN. I'm sure we'll see him soon. Has he got bits and pieces of form that recommend he's a danger?
He has moments. A lot of the horses that we're going through now are very hit and miss, and that's what I keep going on about. I like to see a little bit more consistency. And you also like to think that the winner of the Hollywood Durban July is going to come from what is one of the better top 3-year-olds that has won something like Mike's got in the race, and I have, Group 1 winners that like Legislate that go on to do great things. So I'm really hoping that, he's all right. He's just behind the best. He's coming in with a low weight. Keegan's in form. Dean's in form. Yes, I give him a half a chance, but he will certainly have to raise his game on what's in this year's Hollywoodbets Durban July. With the stakes at 5 million rand, it's changed the whole dynamics of this race, in my opinion. It's a lot of money and a lot to play for. And in that happening, it's raised the entire bar of this field.
Absolutely. Right, let's now just move on to ZAPATILLAS. Brett Crawford trains, Louis Otwa takes a ride. Mark, Brett's obviously set up shop at Randfontein in Johannesburg. He's rated down for a few feature race winners already this winter, including with ZAPATILLAS in the Guineas. Hasn't been seen since, but Brett's obviously a thorough horseman. Near misses in this race before. Again, will he go 2,200 metres?
Yeah, look, I think it's by design that he hasn't been seen since. Seen that Brett's training them out of Joburg. He doesn't want to go backwards and forwards to altitude, so that's the reason you haven't seen him. I'm not totally convinced about the distance, although he's gone 1,800 earlier on in his career. I think his run in the Guineas, Brett was teeing him up for the race, for sure. That, for me, would be the negative. A lot of positives in his prep. I like his prep. And I like the fact that he's got a bit of class.
Grant, you would have seen him up close as well. The win in the Guineas was good. He's a beautiful horse. Again, does he have what it takes?
It certainly does have what it takes, and there's so many horses that can actually win this race. And if you don't have the luck in running, then it's going to be really tough. He's a horse that can win, but as Mr. de Kock alluded to, whether he'll stay and see out the distance is another story. But he does have what it takes.
Right, we're getting on to the fancied runners in just a moment. Time for a quick break, and then we'll look at the top of the boards for the Hollywoodbets Durban July.
I don't know about you, but I know what I want. I want to be entertained. I want to be thrilled. All of budgets. I want excitement. I want options. Variety. I want it today, tonight, tomorrow. I want it all. That's why Hollywoodbets.
On to the horses that bookmakers think are the horses to beat in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. Now we go into number 1, Aragosta from the Mike de Kock stable. Warren Kennedy takes a ride, champion jockey-elect of the season. Mark, a few Shrudies are talking up his chances. Hung around in the Daily News 2000 when finishing just over 2 lengths behind Safe Passage. Extra distance won't be a concern. Where does he stand?
Yeah, Alistair, his Derby winners have got a good record in the race. Horses coming out of the Daily News and prepping have got a very good record in the race. He's drawn well, albeit he's not the fastest out of the gates. Definitely needed his last start. Progressive horse. He's a better horse here than he was in Joburg. He must have an undeniable each-way shot.
Smanga draw 1 in the Hollywoodbets Durban July. Assume there's a lot of shouting and screaming for the first 200 metres while everyone on the outside looks for that position. Would you rather be drawn away from draw 1 or draw 1, happy, I'll do my thing?
You know what, I think this kind of race is a little bit of a waste job for jockeys because, you know, if your horse just comes out slightly sluggish, you got guys who just looking for that position. And Warren Kennedy, he is a master at this track, and I feel he has watched this horse's runs, and I asked him after the gallop, and he said he really galloped well. Just try and show him a little bit of the track because I think the last time he hung with Khumalo, but not putting it out there that he might hang again. But just obviously, if you do like him, just bear in mind that he might just hang a little bit. And Warren, he's a master, and I think he should just keep him in a straight course.
Okay, so that's number 1, Aragosta. Let's go on to the next 14 to 1 shot. It's HOEDSPRUIT, number 3 on the card. Craig Zanke takes a ride for Justin Snaith. And again, a few Shrudies are talking up his chances. Is this your Bulgarian angle for 2022, Justin?
Yes, it always has been. Unfortunately, I haven't been blessed this season with draws by the NRB. The Gold Challenge, I was on the outside. HOEDSPRUIT, I even put him in a pinnacle drill on the outside. And unfortunately, you have to take your poison, and they are prepping for big races, and you have to drop them in. He ran on beautifully in that race. There's nothing we could do, and he flying home, great prep. He had never seen Greyville due to rain and conditions. He never got to even go to the course to even have a look at it. He managed to do that in his race. He's come out of it beautifully. He's got a great draw. Craig Zaki is a very good up-and-coming jockey. 53 kilos. I couldn't run him again anywhere because the handicap was ready to penalise him. The Greyville 1900, the conditions changed, so all penalties were up for grabs. We couldn't run him there. So I have 4 months of sitting in Natal waiting for this race for this horse. So I really hope that for Suzette and Barcy, for Leon, he gives of his best, and I'm sure he will. Everything is in his favour. We can't do it better, and let's hope that he runs a massive race.
Grant, you rode him last time out. Again, you talk about well-handicapped horses. Yes, they can win the Hollywoodbets Durban July, but you also have to be good enough to win it. You rode him last time. You've rode him before when winning at Durbanville about 10 months ago. Simple. Is he good enough to win the race?
Look, he does have tons of ability, this horse, and I actually give him a small chance in this field. He's got a lovely galloping weight, and he's got a nice turn of foot as well. He's very versatile as well, which plays in his favour. So if the pace is slow, he can be up there, and if they're going quite a good pace, then which I doubt, then he can come from off the pace. But a horse that is very easy to ride, and he's got ability.
Number 9, Jet Dark. Pound for pound, probably the best horse in the country. I suppose Komete Ding supporters will have something else to say, but a 2-time winner of the Lomeron Queen's Plate and also won the Champions Cup here about 11 months ago. Justin, you trained the son of Trippy. I know that you had a hard time with jockeys. I have to bring Smanga into this as well. But Justin, Jet Dark, top weight, 60 kilos, top horse, again stamina doubts, again the race might be run to suit. Can he win it?
Look, you can't count out a horse that's done what he's done. He's a multiple Group 1 winner. You know on the big day this horse can fire up. Obviously jockeys was a bit of an issue. We weren't quite told that Smanga changed his mind by his agent, and at the last minute I had to find somebody. So I was very fortunate that Bernard was available and we managed to get him on a flight. So obviously it looks like Smanga might have chosen sparkling water, so punters have to look at that. But you know, in life we all make mistakes.
Smanga, you smiling. I know that you'll take that jab with a pinch of salt. You rode him to win the Lomeron Queen's Plate at the start of the year. You rode him to run second in the Met at the start of the year. You rode him last time when he was flying in the Gold Challenge from a bad draw, from the back of the field. Is he a player?
Alistair, he's a very, very nice horse. It's amazing that he's still a colt and he's still picking up all those Group 1s. You know, for me, I think he hasn't put a foot wrong. If you are doubting that he does stay or not, you have a look at the 1800 that he won here at Greyville. He really took off. Pace was on, and he really, really blew them away, going away. And I think the second behind Komete Ding, the 2,000 meters at the JNB Met, you have a look at him at about the 200. He sort of like hit a flat spot, but coming to the line, he was doing his best. And I think the 2-2, if he settles, he'll definitely run a big race.
Right, on to last year's winner, Komete Ding, the crowd favourite, the people's horse. Michelle Ricks and Harold Crawford train. Gavin Larena is back on board, comes out of stallgate number 13. Bit of a different prep, Justin, going from Cape Town to Joburg, not being seen, having a few official gallops here at Hollywoodbets Greyville. It's clearly good enough, but is the prep just a bit of a worry?
Going to Joburg, from the Cape Town season to Joburg and contesting those races and then to Natal is a big ask. But I think they may have had him a little bit big in the Joburg season. At altitude, you need to strip up. I think he looks a lot better. I think he enjoys Natal. He looks amazing. The gallop was certainly one of the best gallops of the day. And I think Michelle Ricks has been very good in the whole way she's handled this whole situation. He's got the jockey that's got a lot of confidence in him, Gavin Larena, and he chirps me every morning. Can't help himself. I think he's one of the horses that I'm worried about in the race because, you know, on a big day, this horse can fire up. He's a big runner.
Mark, what about his prep? Joburg didn't exactly go according to plan. Off 9 weeks, but clearly been building up through his gallops. Is he a player?
Yeah, look, a totally different prep to last year. In fact, last year I was quite bullish about him winning. And his prep last year, that Guineas, Daily News, into the July, it's tried and tested. It's cast in stone. It was a super prep, good old-fashioned prep, and all you did was watch him improve. He comes into this race with a totally different profile this year, and he comes in as well with having to turn the form around quite considerably with horses from Joburg, which I'm sure he can do because he was a lot better than that form. I agree with Justin. I think he looks better than he did in Joburg. But there's also horses at the weights, like Linebacker, for instance. There's never really been more than 3 parts of a length between the two. And yet he's now giving him 1.5 kilos. So it's going to be close. It's going to be tough. He certainly is one of the class acts. It's not the same this year.
Number 2 on the card is Do It Again. He's looking to become the first horse to win this race 3 times. Justin Snaith won it as a 3-year-old, won it as a 4-year-old. Unlucky not to win it as a 5- and 6-year-old. Is the big boy back?
He never left. For me, he's the Roger Federer of South African racing. I watched him this morning come down the track, and it's just as graceful as ever. You know, in South Africa, we start thinking 7-year-olds are old. If you look around the world racing, 7-year-olds are what win the big races. They've got the temperament. They've been there before. Fortunately for him, touch wood, he's sound as can be. He's never, ever given me soundness issues. He's one of those amazing horses. I think he looks after himself really well. He doesn't ever overexert himself too much. And in doing that, has just matured into the most beautiful animal. And I tell you what, whatever runs in front of him will win. He'll be right there. You just cannot leave this horse out of anything.
Grant, I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to be happy with the ride you got. You got Linebacker. We'll talk about him in a moment. But you do ride a lot for Justin. If you could choose any one of Justin's runners in the race, which one would you have chosen?
It's a difficult question because of the pace of the race. Pace was on, no doubt Jet Talk. Jet Talk, Pump and Power, it's nothing between them. It just comes down to pace. I think they are the biggest dangers to Linebacker and possibly Mr. Kock's runners as well.
Okay, so you heard it there from Grant. You can read that between the lines as you will. On we go to Pump and Power, number 8 on the card. Greg Boards owns. I think it's great what Greg's doing on social media. Really is a big supporter of the game. Yes, he does want to win the Hollywoodbets Durban July. He grew up just over the road from here. It's always been a dream of his to have a runner in the race and to win the race. But he is also wishing all the luck on all his competitors. Richard Farid takes the ride. Justin, here's a key 3-year-old in the race. He's your runner. Great run in the Daily News, considering what he went through. Have you got your finger on him now? Or is he just the type of horse you're never going to have your finger on him? He's going to do what he does.
No, look, he's a very difficult horse, and I'm actually making Mike look good this season with some of our tactics. I must be honest. We went flat out in the Daily News, and Mike came past cantering, laughing at us. We couldn't have gone faster. He is a very difficult horse, as we saw in the gallops. He is just a very, very difficult horse, but can run like the wind. So we've been working really hard. I actually thought the July gallops, everything went, besides him sticking up, which is not a train smash in a horse. He was sticking up, but what we did in the July gallops is we put a pacemaker in for him, but then as we got going, we slowed the pacemaker down drastically to then make him really have to slow down to a canter. There was a game plan, and then you see him drop his head. We slow the pace down. He tends to pull a little bit and then relaxes. And I thought he galloped well. And that's sort of our game plan. And we're making it very clear to the public and everything. It is not our intention to go to the front. That's why the gallop happened the way it did. We'll do the best we possibly can on the day to ensure that he gets to the start in a good condition. And if he does and things go his way, he's the horse to beat. But things have to go his way.
Grant, you've ridden a lot with Richard, all around the world. One thing about Richard, he's going to have a plan. If he's going to settle the horse, he knows exactly what he's going to do. Do you think this horse has what it takes?
This horse definitely has what it takes. Although this horse is his own worst enemy, I do believe that this horse has the ability to win this race quite easily if he wants to, but he's his own worst enemy. I've ridden him once and I won, I think it was a grade 2 on him, and he gave me a phenomenal feel, but he's just a very naughty horse and he tries to do too much with you, you know. So Richard will have to bring his A game to the course.
On to number 12, Sparkling Water. Smanga Khumalo rides for Mark de Kock. We've got both here, so we'll talk to both about Sparkling Water. Mark, starting off with you, I don't know what to make of her. Some mornings I wake up and say she's so well handicapped,
She'll win the Hollywoodbets Durban July, and the next morning I'll wake up and say, is she good enough? So, can she win it?
I agree with you on the well handicapped. She's won at a good level, not at the top level. She's run well in Group 1s, 2, her last 2. However, she gets, you know, a nice turnaround with a few horses. The further they go, the better. She's a galloper. She can go forward. She can sit behind. She's very versatile. She won a race in Cape Town. She had no right to win. She probably had to outsprint horses that virtually cantered around. She can win a 1400. She can win a 2850. Has she got the X factor? Is she that Group 1 horse? She's run well. She's yet to win at that level. Is she good enough to beat a Group 1 winning 3-year-old when she hasn't won a Group 1 herself? Those questions will be asked on Saturday. She's in fine form. On paper, she looks to have a big chance with the handicapping. But she needs to up her game a little bit.
Smanga, you've made your decision. Yes, you're sponsored by Wilgeborgsdrift. You're obviously happy with the decision that you've made with the horse that you're riding. Mark's talking about X Factor. Do you think she has that X Factor?
Obviously, she does stay. That's a positive thing. She still hasn't, how can I put it, like, you know, you're on her, you're not sure if you want to actually let her gallop, and if you tuck her in, she sort of like comes back and she does what you ask of her, and you just have to actually obviously be able to let her unwind, because she takes a little bit of time to get going. Unlucky last time. It's just a race when, how can I put it, it didn't go the way that I wanted to, but she gave more than I expected, and just the front runner just never came back, and I thought I got up, but you know, once you look at it again, she done very well, taking on the boys, and also giving some of them weight. So I really think there's something there. I was fortunate this morning to put a leg over her, just to take her for like a nice canter, and she's in really, really good space. I also have to try and bring my A game, since the boys out there, they are bringing their A game, and as Mr. Kock say, I think on a day, if you doubt her on a day, she'll prove us wrong.
Well, there's some fighting talk from Smanga and from Mike about sparkling water. On we go to number 4, linebacker, second in this race last year. Grant Van Niekerk rides for Vaughan Marshall. Vaughan's looking for his first win in the Hollywoodbets Durban July, as is Grant. Ball's on your court. Will he win?
He can definitely win this race. This is his best chance of winning. I've got the draw. The horse is doing so well at Mr. Marshall's magician when it comes to turning horses around. I had my doubts in the Drill Stakes, but it was only his first run after a long layoff of 1400. And Mr. Marshall turned him around very quickly, and he was just feeling phenomenal. I have confidence going into this race. Of course, there is a few horses that, in my opinion, that can also win it, but if I get luck in running and if he switches off and I'm turning from 4 or 5 lengths off them, travelling well, I'll be right there.
Justin, how much do you fear linebacker?
I think he's certainly a horse that he deserves to be up in the betting, because he consistently runs at this level, and he always a little bit unlucky and he runs right there. I think in the Gold Challenge, Jet Dark was a little bit unlucky. He fell out the gates and he made up a lot of ground. So I think wherever linebacker runs, Jet Dark will be right next to him or ahead in front of him. So a lot of respect. Grant's got that knack of popping up in big races. He's a seriously talented young rider, and
thank you.
I think that's gonna play a lot in his role in this year's Hollywood Durban July.
Favourite is Safe Passage, number 10 on the card. Mike de Kock, Muzi Yanni team up, the winner of the Daily News 2000, and he won it in style. Mike, he's at the top of the boards. I know that you're a man that welcomes the big races, that welcomes the pressure, that welcomes the expectation. Had I asked you 6 months ago, would he be favourite in the Hollywoodbets Durban July, you might have said, well, he'll be a runner. Now he's a serious racehorse. You talk about recovery levels of this horse and how freakish they are. What does that all mean, just in layman's terms?
Just, you know, it's basically a cardiovascular, it's a recovering heart rate. He has, you know, a well above average recovery heart rate, and I think that's probably why he got away with the lack of preparation for his last start. But again, I look at the race as basically an old versus new, Alistair. We've got 3 of the 4 best 3-year-olds currently around running against the best of the 3-year-olds of last year that are now 4 at way better than weight for age terms. If we think that this crop is any good, they'll beat them. If we think that the crop last year was way better than this crop, well, then we've got our work cut out because we've still got a little bit of a weight advantage. Remember, if this was the J&B Met today, there'd only be 1.5 kilos between them at weight for age. We're getting 6, 7, 5, 7 kilos from them. So the debate is, and I think Justin here holds a key in a way, in that he had double superlative run all over them in the Met. He had pomp and power. He's got jet dark. A question I should be asking Justin is, how do these 3-year-olds stack up against jet dark, against Balgowan, against the older horses you have in your stable? Because that for me is the key. If these 3-year-olds are as good as them, then at the weights, the old horses can't beat them.
Okay, Justin?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question that Mike is saying, because he's very right. And I think that I would almost say that the 4-year-olds were very good. The linebackers, the jet dogs, they were very good. And I think the handicappers they were hoping on the Daily News. Double superlative running in the Daily News off a 124. Unfortunately, he got injured here in Natal, and he came out of the Daily News, which then meant that the highest rated 3-year-old in South Africa was not in the Daily News. Therefore, the handicappers couldn't adjust the 3-year-olds to a level that they should be in this year's Hollywoodbets Durban July. Unfortunately, they are now slung in, or fortunately, on whichever way you look at it. They did run close, like Mike's saying, in the Met and the Queen's Plate. The 3-year-olds were right on top of the older horses. Now we're going 4 months later, they're getting way more weight.
And more mature.
And more mature. So it certainly brings them into the equation. It's a close one, this. And I think as Grant's been going on, it's a matter of how the race is run. Remember, this track is half the size it used to be. It's very narrow. A lot can go wrong very quickly. A good draw can become a bad draw in seconds. You're all celebrating, and I'll never forget, remember Joey threw the 20 draw when he pulled it, and he was very upset, only to then walk in the winner's box when he won from 20 draw.
Didn't throw the check.
It's a very competitive race, this.
Right, let's put a cherry on top. Let's get the selections. Let's try and see if we can decipher who's going to win the 2022 Hollywoodbets Durban July. While we ask the panel, let's have a look at the field and betting order and go through it. Mike, I'm going to start off with you. Of the horses that you don't train, which horse do you fear most?
Linebacker.
Grant, you have to tip linebacker. Who's your biggest danger or dangers?
I think there's a few that can win. I think Mr. de Coxby is Safe Passage and Almutana. And then Jet Dark and Pump and Power. Those will be my biggest dangers.
Smanga, you have to tip Sparkling Water to win. Who are your dangers, or what is your biggest danger? And also, again, go back to the whole pace of the race. Let's say they go slowly. Everyone expects you to. Grant's, every horse is spoken about the pace of the race. Who are your biggest dangers?
Obviously, I have raced against linebacker, and I just obviously feel, for me, he's my danger. I think that last mile, obviously, being a prep, for me on my selection, I think he's the horse that I have to watch out for. And obviously, I got the weight and I got the confidence in the filly. So yeah, I just think being Grant here, hey, this guy. So I have to try our best to run in front of him then.
Bring it on. Right, let's see what some of the experts from around the country think. I'll add my 2 cents. My first selection is linebacker. My second selection is Almutana. My third selection is Do It Again. And my fourth selection is Jet Dark. Here's some of the experts around town. Of course, the top of the list are the Hollywoodbets and Winning Form stables. So that's what they like in the Hollywoodbets Durban July, followed by some famous jockeys. Anthony Delpeche liking Aragosta to beat Safe Passage. So things at the Kock 1-2 with a Snaith 3-4, Pump and Power and Jet Dark to round off proceedings. I see they've got some unkempt people in the third column. Shaheen Shaw, Ravon Smith, Nico Kritsiotis, Andrew Bott and Justin for Mark. I'll take Justin's word seriously out of that 5. Then we've got the Gold Circle boys, Andrew Harrison, who's watched many Julys, likes linebacker to win from Safe Passage, Pump and Power and Jet Dark. And then some of the more famous names around Sharp Pretoria, Selwyn Elk, Colin Aitken and Frankie Zaki, all guys that are worth their salt. And what Hollywoodbets did is that they ranked all these selections according to the following. So any horse that was tipped to run first was given 4 points, second 3 points, third 2 points and fourth 1 point. And linebacker came out on top, Grant Van Niekerk. Your ride was the most popular horse according to 25 so-called experts. About 10 of them, I'd say, are worth their salt.
No pressure.
So linebacker coming out on top there. Just to mention about the Garden Province Stakes, of course, Brentford are sponsored by Hollywoodbets. Hollywoodbets, of course, taking their brand to the UK. Brentford bringing their brand here to Hollywoodbets Durban July 2022. They are the sponsors of the Garden Province Stakes for 2022. Of course, a big stake put together as well. And it's fantastic to have this type of representation. And Team Brentford, all the guys put their heads together and came up with a 1-3 favourite to win. I think many people will. And of course, we'll catch up with Justin at the end of this for the extended version of this panel discussion to find out what he thinks of Captain's Ransom. But many will be bankering her in all of their exotics. Don't forget to tune into Gallup TV and also onto the Hollywoodbets social media avenues to get the rest of this panel discussion. We will talk about the other 11 races on the card. We'll chat to Justin about his runners, Grant about his rides in Smanga as well. And also there'll be an opportunity for punters to pick up any other tidbits for the various exotics. And touching on the exotics, of course, the usual array of bets is available from the tote. There are 3 jackpots on the go. The first one begins in race number 1 with an estimated pool of 400,000 Rand. The first bar pot starts in race number 2, targeting 750,000. The ever popular PA, 1.7 million Rand is the target. That kicks off in the third race. Pick 6, 12 million Rand, the likely pool. I believe we'll get close to 20 million Rand, so you do want to be part of that. Jackpot 2 starts in race number 5, 1.5 million Rand is the target. Race 7, the Hollywoodbets Durban July, 10 million Rand quartet is what's expected this year, and that, I'm sure, is going to pay handsomely, even if you get favourite from second favourite, third favourite and fourth favourite. And then the Get Out Stakes, Jackpot 3 begins in race number 9, 600,000 Rand is up for grabs there. And then race number 10, of course, is the Pick 3. Also, not forgetting the Hollywoodbets Punters Edition, the Punters Challenge that has proven to be ever popular. Now, just take note that if you tip all 12 winners on the card, 10 million Rand is coming your way. If someone doesn't tip all 12 winners, of course, 250,000 Rand still has to be won. Between the top 100 on the leaderboard, I believe 18,000 players joined this last year. It's free to play, so you want to get involved. The winner of the challenge will pick up 100,000 Rand, 50,000 Rand for second, 25,000 Rand for third, and as mentioned, paying all the way down to the 100th place. Of course, you can open an account on Hollywoodbets. It is, of course, free to play. And that's a wrap when it comes to Africa's greatest horse race 2022. The gates are open. We're looking forward to seeing you back. Big thanks to the panel, to Mark, to Justin, to Grant and to Smanga for their time, for their help, for their expertise. May you all come back safely. May we see you on the 2nd of July. Looking forward to it all. Goodbye.